All right, guys, something happened and we need to talk. So last night I had a dream and it was amazing, only to people on BookTube probably. But in my dream, I dreamed that I was organizing my books. What better dream can you possibly have? So anyway, I was organizing them by color. So I had all my red books together, all my orange books together, etc. And what I liked about it was the fact that I was putting my books into different categories and thus seeing books in a new way that I hadn't seen them before. And so as part of my dream, I was trying to challenge myself to read one red book and then one orange book, etc., which is very nerdy, very weird, and not actually how I'm going to organize my books, but it did give me the idea to dump them all out, which is what you see here. These are all my unread books. I left my red books on my shelves. I also left my religion books on my shelf because I put those in a separate category and I use those for this morning quiet time I have. And I also left my workbooks on a shelf together because those I also use for like a morning meeting and morning professional development with myself. So these are all my fiction and nonfiction books that I want to read for pleasure but have not gotten to yet. And I used to have them on my shelves, but one of the things I noticed was that when I look at the same books, they almost become part of the scenery as opposed to seeing them fresh and seeing them as like an actual book that you might want to read. And so currently these books are housed on my cart on a little basket that I have that I put on the side of my couch, and the rest are on the floor of my walk-in closet. I have like an old shoe rack sort of thing, and they're kind of stacked on there like really high. So anyway, I wanted to take them all out and look at them fresh just to see if there are any books hiding that, ooh, I just forgot some. Hang on. Okay, I'm back. I forgot some of my mystery books that I had separated for fall. And so basically what I want to do is just look through all my books, see if there's any that I've been forgetting that, oh my gosh, I really want to read this. And how I'm going to organize them is I'm going to organize them by their average rating on Goodreads. And what I'm curious about is if I read them in that way by like starting with the most popular book on Goodreads, would I actually agree with that statement? Because what it seems like to me is sometimes the books that impact your life the most are the books that are not really appreciated overall by Goodreads members. And so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to separate them. I will talk about some of the books I found that I've been really wanting to read, but I kind of lost track of or forgot I had. And I'm also going to share with you like maybe the top 10 books or so that showed up on Goodreads that I have not read yet. So I'm going to get started. This excites me way too much, and I hope you enjoy. All right, so I found the top 10 books on Goodreads. So what I'm curious about is, do you guys agree with these? Have you read any of these and loved them? So the very first one is by Dolores Cannon, and it's 5 Lives Remembered. So she is a famous kind of woo-woo type person that has done a lot with hypnosis and on looking into people's past lives and just learning about like, why are we here? What is our purpose? All that stuff. So that was the most popular. And then next popular was New and Selected Poems by Mary Oliver. I love her so much. I actually discovered her kind of late because it wasn't until I read Upstream before it came out and reviewed it that I fell in love with her. Like, I feel like we have so much in common, and I was devastated when she passed away, but I have not read all these poems. I'm sure I've read some of them in other collections of hers, but I haven't actually tackled these. And then Henry David Thoreau, A Life. I'm super fascinated in learning more about him, and so I bought this biography, but I still haven't gotten to it. More Than Enough by Elaine Weatheroth, something like that. I found out about this book through Brene Brown, who either recommends books that I adore or that I hate. There's really nothing in between, and so I'm excited to read this. I just haven't gotten to it yet, as is the case with all of these. Next is Girl, Woman, Other, which you guys have all raved about, I feel like, and this is actually our book club for October. We have a family book club, and we are reading this for our October pick, so I will be reading this definitely soon, regardless of what order it came in. These Truths, A History of the United States by Jill Lepore. I have started a These Truths read along, and we are actually spending the entire year reading this, so I actually have already read like a quarter of it, I would say. Maybe less than that. Anyway, so we are actually moving on to the second section in October. If anyone would like to join us, just send me a Voxer message. I would love to add you to the chat. Like, if I could name drop the people in our group, you would want to join. Next is Roald Dahl's Collected Stories. I know there is a video recently on The Landlady, which is one of my favorite stories to teach, especially around the fall. And I'm curious to read the rest of his books, or stories, short stories. These are for adults, and it's just interesting to hear him write for a different audience, because I think I'm typically used to his children's books, but I love The Landlady oh so much, and I want to read the rest of these. Next up is a book that I am reading with one of my really good friends, who I guess you guys could consider a YouTube lurker, because she does not have her own channel. However, she is amazing at commenting. She's amazing at Voxer messages, and you want to be her friend. We are going to be reading this together, and I heard that there is a lot of like journal entries and things like that. So we are going to just kind of like reflect together as we're reading this, and I think that will be even more powerful than reading it by myself. So it's Me and White Supremacy by Layla F. Saad. Okay, the next book is actually one that is coming to me in the mail, but I don't actually own it yet, and it is the new book by Yad Jesse. I think it is called Transcendent Kingdom. Yes. So it's on its way to me. I just counted it as a book that I own but have not read, just because I know that it's coming. It will be a signed copy through Parnassus's first edition book club, but like I said, it's not here yet. And then finally, The Fire This Time by Jesmyn Ward. A book of essays on race and just on all the discussions that we really need to have that are starting, but we haven't engaged all the members that need to be part of these conversations, and we really need to go from more internal dialogue to action. And I still myself am kind of in the internal learning, growing. It's time to move on. So those are the 10 books that were highest rated on Goodreads. I am going to sort through the rest, and then when I do that, I will show you some of the other ones that I'm like, oh my gosh, I have to read this, and I forgot I had it or just lost track of it. Okay, I changed my mind. I'm realizing I'm going to change my mind a lot during this process. So there's such like a blurry line, I feel like, sometimes between like the religious books that I said I was keeping separate and the workbooks that I am keeping separate. And so I decided I'm only keeping Christian books separate, and the mindfulness sort of more woo-woo topics I'm going to include in this group. And then also I had some books I wanted to read for work that are not necessarily like 100% workbooks, so I included them in here too. So with that being said, one of the books that should have been in my top 10, this is actually number 10, is Drinking from the River of Light by Mark Nepo. He actually lives not too far from me. I believe he's somewhere in the Kalamazoo area, and this book is about mindfulness and writing, and I started to read it, you guys, but it is not a book just to read cover to cover. This is a book you could spend a year or two on, and I really want to dig into it again, but it's just really on how powerful writing is and how it's like a creative expression, and how we need creative expression in our life to feel like we are in sync and contributing and all that sort of thing. And there's journal entries and stuff throughout here, so I definitely need to start this again or add some sort of writing routine to my life, because I do adore writing and it's just a really soothing thing to practice. The other thing I decided is I'm going to actually show you the top 20 books that are on here, so stay tuned. All right, so like I said, because I added that book into the top 10, then it actually is The Fire This Time. That is number 11. Number 12 is The Boys in the Boat, which is about the quest for gold at the 1936 Berlin Olympics. Then I have The Dragon, the Giant, the Women, which is a signed copy of this book. I was so excited to read it, but I've actually heard a lot of mixed reviews on BookTube that possibly it was overhyped. I'm not sure, but we'll see. And then Jodi Picoult, or however you say her name, Small Great Things. I read an article a few years ago that made me like not really a fan of her, like because of her personality and like what she said about the way I guess the way she said certain things about her career, but we'll see. Americana, I don't need to say anything about this book. Everyone knows it's amazing. I just haven't gotten to it yet. Shadow Divers, which is about two Americans who risked everything to solve one of the last mysteries of World War II. It's by Robert Kurson, and this was recommended to me when I visited my favorite bookstore, McLean and Eakin in Petoskey, Michigan, and I need to get to it. I've brought it on vacation with me so many times, and I just get busy with vacation and don't read it. But I love mysteries and I love nonfiction, and I just think this would be very interesting. I also like reading about stuff that I can't do myself. So I'm not a diver. I've been snorkeling, but never scuba diving. And I'm just so interested in stuff like that that I don't have personal experience with. Stop Missing Your Life by Corey Mascara. This came out, I feel like it came out in March, like right at the beginning of the COVID drama. And this is about just being more present in your life and not being on technology all the time, I think. And yeah. The Master and Margarita. So when I first moved to Michigan, I think I made a video on this, but one of my friends from Illinois sent me this care package and it had all these books in it. And each book came with a note on a little index card about why she selected it for me and what she loved about that book. This is one of them, and I have not gotten to it yet, but it's one of her ultimate favorites, and it would be fun to read it to see like why it was one of her favorites, if I agreed with her, disagreed with her, and it's just special to have someone mail you books. I'm obsessed with Madeleine L'Engle, and this is a book on her writing. Initially, I thought that she wrote this herself on writing, but it's actually a collection of her different pieces of writing that she's had over the years. There might be some speeches and stuff in here. So it's really like formulated after her death, or at least it wasn't formulated by her. It wasn't put together by her, but it's all on just writing and how that impacts your life. And then finally, number 20 is Team of Rivals, so heavy, by Doris Kearns Goodwin. This was the basis for the Lincoln movie, and I have not read it, but I am excited to read more about Lincoln's life and just get to know him better. So those are my top 20. All right, so my cart is completely full now, and I started at the top with like, this is the most highly rated book on Goodreads, going this way. And then I also stuffed books in the back that are difficult to see. So this is the first shelf. Second shelf, again, there are books in the back that you can't see. And third shelf, and my cat, maybe. All right, this is the next section of books, starting here with the most popular, but there's actually another layer I'm gonna put on top that's technically like more popular than Virgil. All right, so on top I am stacking the Divine Comedy, When You Are Engulfed in Flames, I Met Him, and the Once and Future King. And then for the second group, I have Helter Skelter, All About Love, and City of Girls, which is a signed copy. All right, we finished, or I finished. These are all the rest of my books. And yet we have a little bit of a problem because I did not finish. So I used my to be read list on Goodreads to sort these, which is where I put all my books that I had not read yet. And yet somehow this happened. So apparently these are all books that I own that I have not read and that apparently are not on my to be read list on Goodreads. So I need to enter them all and then go back and put them where they need to be. Oh my gosh. So I thought I was making progress on my to be read list, but maybe not. All right, all the books are for real taken care of now. And this is actually the most popular book that I have not read, or at least the highest rated. So I redid this cart. And I redid this tote. And this is everything else. I'm actually going to IKEA in like 2 weeks, and I'm gonna get some bookshelves, but I think they're my Christmas gift. So yeah, we'll see what they have there. Hopefully, I'm hoping they have 2 like 3-shelf Billy bookcases that I can put on either side of my bed as nightstands. And then I'm going to get like, I can't remember if it's 2 or 3 shelves, but it's like 3 of them smushed together, and I'm gonna put that like across from my bed, and we'll see what else I have money for. All right, I have finally organized all my books. Now that I know I have 180 unread books instead of whatever I thought I had before, I think 145. Whew, that's a lot more than I thought. Things are a little more out of control than I thought. But anyway, I wanted to show you the 10 least popular or lowest rated books that I own. So first one is The Resistors. This is actually a signed copy that I got from Parnassus. I started it. I wasn't the biggest fan, but it's also because it's about baseball, and I'm not the biggest fan of baseball. But I'm not giving up on it. I'm going to try it again sometime. Another one, The Secret Chord by Geraldine Brooks. This is also signed, and it's also from Parnassus. Milkman by Anna Burns. This is gonna make some people sad that it is so not well rated, I guess. Mainly Kim from K. Becker's books, because I think that she loves this book. Actually, it was in my pile of books to get rid of just because I didn't really have a lot of interest in reading it, and then she raved about it and it made me more interested. The Buried Giant, which I know that Jason from Old Blues Chapter and Verse really loved. My copy is signed, so is his, and I haven't gotten to this. The Little Friend by Donna Tartt. Now, Donna Tartt writes a book around every 10 years. I would have to look at when her last one was published. I feel like she's got to be due soon, or at least in the near future. But I haven't read this one. I've read her first one, her most recent, and this one's in the middle. I've never read it. Next one is Tinkers by Paul Harding. This one won the Pulitzer, and it was one of the books that I purchased at the very last minute before my year of reading one's own book buying ban. Late in the Day by Tessa Hadley. This is also a signed copy that I have not read. Let's see, Squirrel Seeks Chipmunk. This is by David Sedaris. I met him. I don't know that this copy is necessarily signed, but once I finish it, I can put it on my signed bookshelf because I met him, and I include books in there that where I have met the author, even if the book is not technically signed. J.K. Rowling, The Casual Vacancy. I think that this is one of Sarah from Your True Shelves' favorite books, and I don't know, we'll see. And then finally, this one is not even rated at all. It's not even listed on Goodreads, and I searched a lot of different ways. It is called Women of the Grand, Their Legacy, and it's by Wallace K. Ewing. This is more of a local book by a local author. That might be why it's not on there, but he has his PhD, I believe, in history, and he's just very he knows a lot about the area we live in, and so this is about influential women that have lived in Michigan, and it might be specifically West Michigan. I'm not entirely sure, but I do believe that it's about diverse women and not just like a bunch of white women, and so I do think this would be very interesting to get to. All right, so now that my books are completely sorted based on how popular they are on Goodreads as far as how highly they're ranked, rated, sorry, not ranked. I just wanted to go through and pick ones that I'm most interested in, starting from the top and working my way down. So these are the 10 books that I'm most interested in that also tend to be pretty popular on Goodreads. And the first one is Me and White Supremacy, which I already talked about. I'm going to do a buddy read with this with Allie. Drinking from the River of Light. I also already talked about this. Shadow Divers, another one that I talked about. The Universe in a Nutshell by Stephen Hawking. I'm always very interested in science, and this book is the illustrated version, so there's lots of cool pictures in it. And I never really liked science as a kid, but now that I'm an adult, I actually do really enjoy reading nonfiction books and learning about things that I have never heard of before. I just think it's so amazing, and science tends to bring me closer to God. The next one is All About My Life, which is a World War II memoir. The Angle of Her Pose, which I've wanted to read forever and I've just never gotten to it. I've started it before and it just hasn't been the right time. Not that the book isn't amazing, because I always love it when I start it, but I need to get through it. Black Bottom Saints. This is my most recent signed first edition from Parnassus. It takes place in Detroit, which is not too far from me, just on the other side of the state. And basically this fictional character is going through and telling some of the stories of the very influential Black people who have lived in Detroit. And the stories of the people are true, but he kind of interweaves himself into their lives. And so there's like, that part is fiction, and yeah. Why Evolution is True, which just talks about evolution, because I think it's so fascinating to learn about. Biology of Belief, which is about how we can heal our bodies and how big of a role our like mental health and our thoughts impact our health. Home by Marilyn Robinson, because I'd like to reread all the Gilead books and then read the newest one, Jack, which I don't think is out yet, but it's definitely coming out soon. I think it's sometime this month. And finally, All the Single Ladies, which is about being a single woman in today's society and kind of the history of the single life and how it's changed over the years. And it's just kind of like a anthropology sort of look at being single. So those are all the books, oh my gosh, that I need to read. I found this really interesting because, just like in my dream, it really allowed me to look at my books in a different way and view them in different categories in a different order. That really allowed kind of like a fresh, I don't know, view of them and a fresh look. And I'm so excited to read all these. I think that it helped me appreciate all the books I have and all the reading I need to do. I'm going to spend a lot of time reading this weekend just because this kind of like inspired me. So I'm curious about you guys, like what are the top 10 books that are highest rated on Goodreads? I believe there's already a tag about this, but I'm just curious what you own that is rated very highly, and what are some of your lowest rated books, and what are some of them that you are interested in reading that are ranked more higher, rated more high, rated higher on Goodreads. And yeah, I'm just curious if you tend to agree with the overall viewpoints of books that are posted on Goodreads, or if you often like books that are not really rated that highly. Anyway, I'm curious about all these questions, and I hope that you leave them in the comments below or do some sort of a video response to this. I will see you later. Bye.